We would like to welcome you to Forsyth Building Company's new podcast, Under the Hard Hat. To my left, I have one of our superintendents, Derek Davis, and to my right, I have our owner and president, Harold Forsyth. Guys, it's good to have you here for our first podcast episode. The first question we're going to have when it comes to this podcast is, how did this podcast come about?
My wife got invited to do a podcast with her work, and I thought that was really cool the way they brought what she does out during their conversation. And I thought, man, that would be really cool to do a podcast, bring some light on the construction side of things. And it's kind of started as a joke from me, but then it turned into a real deal. So,
yeah, when I heard Derek wanted to do one, I was like, we don't have any way of doing a podcast. I mean, I'd love to do it, but I don't see how to do it. And then fate kind of brought you into the picture. And once you got here, I mentioned it to you, and you lit up. So said you could handle it. You got a background, handles a little bit of music. And so I thought, okay, well, we may do one. So that's when we started playing around with the names. And it took us a while.
Me and Harold started talking. He offered me the job in business development and kind of give me some details about what goes into that. But there's a lot of unknown too. And when you mentioned there might be a podcast, I tried to act professional, tried not to smile too much. But I think I come back to my office and added a few little fist bumps in there. And, me and Derek, we go to church together, and he's always so serious and to himself. So I thought, man, a podcast with Derek, that's not going to work out. And then I saw him at church the next day, and he was like, man, I think we're going to start a podcast. And he was excited, and then Harold was getting excited, trying to get a name built up. And, boy, that was a process. And, man, I've just been excited for it from the beginning. A little bit more on the name, Under the Hard Hat. What made you pick that name? How did you come up with that name for this podcast?
Well, we went through several, and as you know, and you got excited about every one of them, and I did too. We had a lot of great names, but just running it by my wife one night, and she actually came up with it, and I thought it was neat because all that we've been talking about from day one, we said, what's going to be the theme? I mean, why are we going to do a podcast? And Derek was talking about introducing people to construction, and then it's we all are Christians, so we always talking about our faith and things. So we thought, why not bring that into the picture and talk about people in construction? Hence the name Under the Hard Hat. So we liked it, and that's the one we stuck with.
I know in the naming process, Derek was in the field when we were doing it, but we probably had 50 of them, and I think 30 of them I come up with that didn't even make it to the final cut. I love the funny names, but some of them didn't make sense to anybody else other than if I had to explain it, and you shouldn't have to explain it every time.
Yeah, we said we was going to have a whole segment just on the names that we came up with, so we did save them.
So Derek, I mentioned you being the superintendent and Harold, you being the owner. Harold, go ahead and tell us what goes into a day-to-day basis for you being the owner of a company like this.
Well, there's really a lot involved in a construction company. A lot of moving parts, a lot of very important people that you have to have on board to be successful. Commercial, industrial work, you have to actually, a lot of things are all by plans and specs. You have to estimate the job, break it down in a lot of detail, and a lot of people are all about that. But, we spend weeks sometimes working on a job, getting it ready. You got to give a final number that you're going to stick to regardless of whatever happens in the economy, which is a big deal. And at the same time, you got to compete with other people. So it's very intense. And then once you get a job, you got to actually go build it. You have to break it down into schedule values to get paid by. You have to furnish all the insurance. You have to monitor insurance with subs and yourself. So there's a lot involved. Building is just one part of it, but getting it ready, getting it built, getting it handled and closed out, getting warranties and everything. It's a lot. It's just a lot involved in it.
Yeah, that's kind of something I figured out from the jump. I know me and you had talked before I come here about the possibility of me coming here, and I had no idea what a bid day was. I had no idea the detail that goes into building. Growing up, Harold's son Brody was my best friend, and really the only picture I had of Harold was that he built stuff. That's kind of what I figured he did. I never knew what went into it. And then they started talking about this thing called bid day, and was telling me about having the room they go to war with each other for or together, and I kind of got to see that on some of the projects. And what's crazy to me in this industry is you kind of build the job before you even get it. I had never thought about that. You can go weeks and months and working on this job and putting a bid together, and then you might be let down 2 days later and not even have the job.
That's right. Yeah, we go through a lot of details and get involved because vendors are asked, hey, these beam details won't work, the connections won't work, this material you can't get anymore, so you go to another one, and now the application on that one's a little different. So we work a lot of that out in the bid process to make sure everything's going to work and flow right and that we can use it. And then you're right on some public stuff and occasionally private. Public usually is open right in front of you, bid day. And, all that hard work just thrown out the window. So it is tough, but it's part of the business. And it's really a part that I enjoy because it's a lot of competition to not just get the job. You can get a job anytime you want one.
Yeah.
Because if you just want to be low bid, but you got to bid it at a good amount that you can at least, you got to be able to hire and pay good people to turn out good work.
And good competition is a good thing.
Good competition is good. We don't mind good competition.
Derek, we mentioned you being the superintendent for the company. What is the day-to-day for a superintendent, kind of being on the job site? What do you do for Forsyth?
Well, like you said, I'm superintendent, so on a job on a daily basis, I'm going to go out and manage it, start to finish, pretty much every aspect. And what a lot of people don't understand that goes into it is the amount of safety that you want for guys on your job site. The plan, the details of it. I don't just have one scope of work to know on that job. I have to know every aspect of every sub, every part of a job, electrical, plumbing, concrete, whatever it is, block, masonry, just whatever it takes. I have to know every bit of it on the job.
So it's kind of like in a sports term, you're kind of like the quarterback of the job site. You have to know, I was a lineman, so I only had to know my role. It's kind of like a sub. They know their role. But our quarterback knew everybody's job, everybody's position, and what everybody needed to do on that play and that day. So you're kind of like the quarterback of the job site, basically.
Yep, calling the plays.
Yep, that's a good analogy.
Thank you. So now we got everybody introduced today. Harold, how did you get into the construction field? Like, what made you want to try your hand at the commercial construction industry?
Well, I did some residential building back right out of high school for a little while. And then as I got into college, I got into machine shop work. And actually, when I went to school, all I knew to do was go into engineering. Our school didn't ever teach you anything about a building science program down at Auburn or some other places. There's not many around. But Auburn has one of the best ones around by far after learning it and going to school down there. But I was in engineering starting out and didn't really like it. And somebody on campus, I telling them I'd been in some building, they said, well, you should go check the building science program out. And I'm like, didn't know we had one. So I did and wound up getting in and wound up graduating in it. So it's a great program. A lot of people all over the countries come out of Auburn that's helping build a lot of these buildings you see all over the United States and even other places. So that was kind of my background getting into it. When I got out, I came to work for a company in town here for 5 years in commercial, kind of learned the initial ropes. And due to circumstances with that company, I wound up leaving and starting this company 26 years ago now.
I was going to ask you that. Was that something that you had in mind as far as managing a company and having your own company? Was that kind of always a goal, or did that just
No.
happen in life and you decided to take it and run
It
with it?
just happened. Yep, absolutely. Just due to the partnership in that other business, I needed to get out. So I did go around and interview with some people. It didn't feel right. So I said, heck, I'll give it a try.
God had a big plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Harold talks about starting out in residential. Derek, you also started out in residential.
I did.
Was commercial construction something that you thought you might get into later down the road, or did it just kind of happen as well too?
It was just one of the, I don't know, I needed a career change, and I've always had a passion for building. Like it's always been what I want to do. I love to see something start, something complete. Daily progress. It's always changing. I like it. Most people probably think it was crazy, but if it wasn't challenging, it would probably be boring. Does that make sense? Like, I love the challenge of seeing something be built.
Yeah. Well, Harold, you talk about the 26 years of experience in owning your own company. There's probably been some good times and some bad times in that. But me and you have talked about it a lot. Through all the good times and the bad times, there's been one constant, and I know from growing up your faith with the Lord, and you've always relied on Him. And even in our good times, I'm saying I'm having a great time right now here. But you have instilled that where your faith is, where your beliefs are, and that's kind of true to what this company is. We believe in our correct morals and hard work and doing things the right way.
That's right.
And before I come to Forsyth, I talked with some people around the town and talked with some of your employees. And one of the biggest things that they told me is that Harold does things the right way.
I will agree with that.
And Derek told me before I came here, I was talking to him at church, and he said that he appreciated who Harold was, and I'm not just kissing your butt, but he said that Harold is going to tell you the truth. And he's going to be honest. Whether you like it or not, he's going to tell you the truth. And I've learned kind of in my 24 years of life that that's kind of the best way to live.
Well, it is, but a lot of people don't like it. But I think that is part of our success. And Derek can testify. When I hire just about anybody, I always tell them I won't ask you to do anything unethical or cover up something or hide anything. If you have a problem, make a mistake on a job site, just bring it up. Let's talk about it. If it's our fault, we'll fix it. If it's the subs or the owners, we'll fix it. And being open like that and not worrying, don't worry that you're going to get in trouble about something. Because the main thing at the end of the day, we want it right. We want the customer happy. We want it right. Because these buildings, we came out with this logo years ago. It's your building with our reputation, and that's really what we still ride on. I mean, that's when we leave, our job is done and we move on to another one. But that owner's got that building for years and years, and they don't want to have problems with it. They want to know that it's a great building and holds up for a long time. So we want that. We want.
Yeah, I know when you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, you're building our reputation, and I never heard that, but it's true. I mean, it is our reputation. Whenever somebody drives by, whenever somebody walks into that building, we want the company that's in that building to be proud to say that Forsyth built it. And you can go to our website. You can look at our project gallery. I think everybody that has had something built from Forsyth can say that they have a pretty building, something they're proud of, and something that was done the right way.
Yeah, that's right. We strive on it, but you get it by bringing in people like Derek, yourself. You got to have quality people to turn out quality products.
Now, Derek, we talked about you coming into the commercial side of things and being the superintendent. What are some things about being the superintendent? Me and you, or one of the superintendents, me and you talked about it the other day as far as you're never on the same job site for your whole career. I mean, you're going to be on a job site for a while, whatever the schedule, whatever the time is to get the job done, but then you're moving on. Is that something you enjoy? Is that something that you look forward to when a new job is coming up or a job that you're on is starting to wrap up?
Yeah, I really enjoy not just being in same location for the next 20, 30 years or, this is where I'm going to retire at one facility, one place. That's not me. It's for some people, but that's just not me. I don't want to be tied down to one location every day for whenever I retire or change careers. It's just, this is what I like to do. I like to bounce around, be on a job a year, 2 years, and go do something different.
And Harold, you mentioned you graduated from Auburn with a building science degree. Derek, you started out residential and worked your way up to the top. Basically, if you put the work in and do things the right way, you can find yourself with a successful career in building. Would y'all agree with me on that?
Absolutely.
I think this is a very good career for somebody that I knew I was the person that wanted to work with my hands. I didn't want to be behind a desk every day. I wanted to be doing something with my hands.
Yeah, it just takes time. A lot of people don't want to put time in anymore. They want to just come in and start at the top and get a company truck and get things. That's just a buzz all over construction, but it just takes a little time to learn it. As I told Derek when he came in, it's not necessarily hard. It's just a lot more detail. So you got to be a little more detail oriented, and you also got to love to work out. It's going to get cold. It's going to get hot. You're going to run into a lot of different factors as far as the building side of it, a lot of detail stuff. And by the time you think you got it figured out, you move to another job, and it's totally different now. You're building a different type of building. You're working with different subs, different owners. So challenge is bringing people in the construction industry for these really great jobs now, but you also got to have the people that, like Derek said, that likes to work and move around and not necessarily wants to work in one place every day.
Well, in wrapping things up, we're going to go over one more thing, and that's going to be the name of the podcast, Under the Hard Hat. We're going to cover some things, guys' testimonies, guys' stories, funny stories. We're going to have some great guests on. But, Harold, what is your idea? What comes to mind when you hear the term under the hard hat in our industry?
Well, a lot of things, and that's why I like it. I think it covers a lot of topics, but I'm thinking of the people that's wearing the hard hats, the story of their life. One of the things I've been doing for years now, if you get a bad phone call, you get somebody upset, you get something that you can tell somebody's irritated about something, not necessarily at you, but they just high-strung or irritated for the day, I always think, what's your story? There's something behind this that's causing this. And everybody has a story. Everybody's living, trying to get through this life. So what we want to do is find out their stories. We want to find out some things, where are they in life? What are they doing? What's coming up? Or, we all know a lot and study a lot about the Bible and faith, but some guys and people don't understand that as much as we do. And so we want to bring that to light too and talk to people and find out who they are. A lot of times great people just on the sidelines, you don't even know it in this business.
Yeah, and there's there's a lot of people that have great stories, and you'll never hear them until you ask,
That's
because
right.
they're not the ones that are just going to tell you unless
That's
you
right.
ask them.
And that's what we want to do. So under the hard hat is to get out and find these stories.
Is that kind of how you perceived the title when we told you under the hard hat? You know, with you being in the field, you see those kind of guys every day.
That's right.
You see the guys that have different stories, have different backgrounds. It's kind of exciting to be able to bring some of those guys on this podcast and hear what they have to say.
Oh, it'd be good to interview them, talk to them, because a lot of them has a story that most people can't relate to. You know, we get a name, a lot of times you hear, oh, roughnecks out there in the field ain't going to be nothing but a construction worker, and that's not true. I've met some very, very good people in construction that, knowledge-wise, that'll catch you off guard if you're not ready.
Yep.
Well, all I can say is stay tuned. We have a good lineup coming up. We look to post these one every 2 weeks. It's going to be funny stories, serious stories about the construction industry in itself, and some testimonies in there. To my left, once again, I have Derek Davis. He's one of our superintendents. To my right, I have Harold Forsyth. He is the owner and president of the company. And I'm Brock Young. I'm head of business development, and we look forward to you listening to us.
Since 1998, Forsyth Building Company has been focused on our people and providing only the highest quality construction services for our clients. By investing in our people, they return their best work back into our projects and, more importantly, our clients. This approach has helped make Forsyth Building Company the company that it is today. Based in Anniston, Alabama, Forsyth Building Company encourages employees to build a career, not just work another job. We know that foundation of stability allows our people to do their best work.
I want to be the best value for our customers. In any business, your people is everything. Quality people is the people you're putting out in front of your customers. So in a smaller business, it even means more. Everybody is very important to us, regardless of what role they play.
By focusing on our employees' quality of life and the quality of our work, we show our company's strength through the relationships we build and the long-term partnerships with our clients. The underlying secret to our success is the quality relationships we build with our clients, as well as the quality of our buildings. We believe it's your building, our reputation.
The reason we choose to work for Forsyth Building Company is because their character, their integrity, their pride of work, and their scope of work. It's just been phenomenal.
Forsyth has just completed a new bank that we built in Center, Alabama. Did an excellent job. As a matter of fact, we had our board meeting there last month. All the board members were so excited with the professionalism. As I said before, we could not be happier. All the subs they used, we know them, and they did a fantastic job. Harold started Forsyth just starting from scratch, and look what he's accomplished. He has one of the best reputations in Calhoun County. They deserve it because they've earned it.
Forsyth Building Company is one of the leading general contractors in the area because of our subcontractors and the value they bring to the overall project through the skills and knowledge of their employees. With dedicated leadership and a clear vision of the path ahead, the future of Forsyth Building Company is limitless.
Harold has always had a vision of being a top-of-the-line contractor, and I think he's done a very good job of that. He looks out for his employees. As far as my family, I can't express how much working for Forsyth means to me and my family.
Being at Forsyth Building Company, and the reason I like it is Harold, pretty much the owner of the company. He's an outstanding guy. Never been asked to do anything unethical with Forsyth. He stands by his word, and that's what he wants. He expects that out of me as well.
I was raised to do right, treat people fair, and as I've started my own business, I've seen that with employees, subs, vendors, customers, everybody. I've even told my kids as they're growing up, it's easy to be successful. All you got to do is be fair and honest with people, and you'll be successful.
Doing the right thing no matter what is one of the main tenets of Forsyth's philosophy, and something we never take for granted. We believe building relationships is core to what we do every day. The future of Forsyth Building Company is infinite, and we couldn't be more excited for our clients and employees to be a part of our future. Forsyth Building Company, building relationships one project at a time.